Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome as we get set for the weigh-ins here as Miller Lite presents Bellator MMA here at State College, PA on the campus at Penn State University. After a long time, we are back finally here in the state of Pennsylvania as we get things kicked off. A couple of details for tomorrow night's action here at the Bryce Jordan Center. Doors will open at 5:30 p.m. First fights, the prelims, seen on Bellator.com and seen around the world live on the Bellator mobile app. Should get underway 6:30 Eastern time tomorrow. And the main broadcast with 2 world title fights is set to get underway at our normal start time on a Friday night. That's 9 o'clock Eastern time. And as always, you can see it live and free on Spike. Tickets are available here at the Bryce Jordan Center box office or Ticketmaster.com. And the Bobblehead Series continues. Tomorrow night, the first 5,000 people in the door will get a Randy Couture official bobblehead. And the legend himself, Mr. Couture, he's actually here somewhere. I saw him walk in. He'll be here tomorrow night on the concourse autographing his very own bobblehead likeness. So, again, if you're amongst the first 5,000 to make it in, Randy Couture bobblehead, he's here somewhere, is yours, and you can get it autographed on the concourse from the legend himself tomorrow night. Again, tickets, Ticketmaster.com, or the box office here at the Bryce Jordan Center. Hey, for those that are joining us around the world watching the weigh-ins on Bellator.com, we welcome you as well to State College here, University Park on the campus of Penn State University as we get things underway. Tomorrow night's fight card, 2 world title fights. We talked about it. In the main event tomorrow night, the light heavyweight title, Ryan Bader makes his first defense of the new title as he takes on the slugger and submission ace out of England, Mr. Linton Vassell. And we will have the first ever, the inaugural women's flyweight world title on the line. The 2 best in the division, Emily Ducote and Elimele McFarland, will go 5 5-minute rounds to determine the first ever women's flyweight champion here at Bellator MMA. Tomorrow night's card also features 2 alum from the wrestling program, the country's best wrestling program here at Penn State. Between the 2 of them, they were both 4-time All-Americans, 4 national titles between these 2 gentlemen, one of which the former Bellator light heavyweight champion Phil Davis, and a newer MMA mixed martial artist coming out of the Penn State wrestling program, Mr. Ed Ruth, are both featured on tomorrow night's fight card. Tonight's weigh-ins, tomorrow night's action, all sanctioned by the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission, Executive Director, Mr. Greg Serb. Thank you, Greg. My name is Mike Williams, Bellator cage announcer. With me on stage, the lovely ladies from Bellator MMA, Mercedes and Dasha. Joining us here momentarily, Rich Chow, I believe, will be with the fighters squaring them off. In fact, let's turn things over right now to bring the fighters to the scale. One half of the broadcast team, along with Goldie Mike Goldberg, he will bring the fighters to the scale. Please welcome Mr. Jimmy Smith.
Thank you so much. We start off with our preliminary fights. We start off in the middleweight division, 185 pounds. It is Ryan Parker versus Josh Fremd. First to the scale fight out of Norfolk, Virginia. Please welcome Ryan Parker. Making his pro debut. $183.9 for Ryan Parker. And his opponent fighting out of Connellsville, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Josh Fremd. Undefeated at 1-0. That one win by knockout. $185.6 for Josh Fremd. They'll kick it off for us, the middleweights, Ryan Parker versus Josh Fremd, ladies and gentlemen. Our second prelim in the featherweight division, 145 pounds. It's Andrew Salas versus Ethan Goss. First to scale, fighting out of New Jersey. Please welcome Andrew Salas. Record of 3-1. One of those wins by submission. $144.8 for Andrew Salas. His opponent fighting out of State College, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Ethan Goss. Pro record of 3-3. $145.1 for Ethan Goss. The featherweights, Andrew Salas versus Ethan Goss. Give him a hand. And our third preliminary fight, 145 pounds. It's Frank Buenafuente versus Francis Healy. First to the scale, fighting out of Garfield, New Jersey. Please welcome Frank Buenafuente. Record of 7-4, 1 win by knockout, 3 by submission. $145.5 for Frank Buenafuente. And his opponent fighting out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Francis Healy. Record of 7-4, 5 of those wins by submission. Joseph, make it more dramatic. Come on. Taking his time, no big deal. Oh, he's got the vest. He's ready. Suit with a vest. You gotta weigh in, bro. 144.9 for Francis Healy. Right over there, brother. It's gonna be Frank Buenafuente versus Francis Healy. Give it up for him. Next up, another bout in the featherweight division, 145 pounds. It's Taiwan Claxton versus Johnny Bonilla Bowman. First to the scale, fighting out of Cleveland, Ohio. Please welcome Taiwan Claxton. Making his professional debut. $145.8. And his opponent fighting out of Pomona, New York. Please welcome Johnny Bonilla Bowman. 1-0 in his professional career. $145.8 for Johnny Bonilla Bowman. Let's give it up for the featherweights. Taiwan Claxton versus Johnny Bonilla Bowman. And our next prelim in the welterweight division, 170 pounds, it's Matt Secor versus Logan Storley. First to scale, fighting out of South Glen Falls, New York. Please welcome Matt Secor. Record of 9-4, 8 of those 9 wins by submission. 169.8 for Matt Secor. And his opponent out of Webster, South Dakota, please welcome Logan Storley. Undefeated at 6-0, all of his wins by knockout. $170.8 for Logan Storley. A prelim to watch, folks, at 170, Matt Secor versus Logan Storley. Our next prelim, the bantamweights, 135 pounds. It's Matt Lozano versus Dominique Mazzara. First to scale, fighting out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Matt Lozano. Record of 8-5, 1 win by knockout, 4 by submission. $135.2 for Matt Lozano. His opponent from Lowerboro, Pennsylvania, please welcome Dominic Masada. Record of 12-2, 1 win by knockout, 9 by submission. Sponsors, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. $136 on the dot for Dominic Mazzada. Let's give it up for the bantamweights, Matt Lozano versus Dominic Mazzada. Our next prelim in the featherweight division, 145 pounds. It's Mike Otwell versus Michael Trezano. First to the scale from Ocean City, Maryland. Please welcome Mike Otwell. Pro record of 3-1, 1 win by knockout, 2 by submission. $145.5 for Mike Otwell. And his opponent, fighting out of Ramsey, New Jersey, please welcome Michael Trezano. Undefeated at 4-0, 2 wins by knockout, 1 by submission. $145.4 for Michael Trezano. The featherweights, Mike Otwell versus Michael Trezano. Give him a hand. Our next prelim bout, a catchweight, 165 pounds. It's Mike Wilkins versus Brett Martinez. First to scale, fighting out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Mike Wilkins. Record of 7-4, 2 wins by knockout, 2 by submission. $163.6 for Mike Wilkins. And his opponent, fighting out of Palmerton, Pennsylvania, please welcome Brett Martinez. Record of 6-4, 2 wins by knockout, 3 by submission. $165.1 for Brett Martinez. The catchweight, 165, Mike Wilkins versus Brett Martinez. And our final preliminary bout, a catchweight, 150 pounds. It's Mike Putnam versus Scott Clymer, first to scale, Long Island by way of Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Mike Putnam. $149.1 for Mike Putnam. And his opponent out of Hatfield, Pennsylvania, please welcome Scott Clymer, making his professional debut. $149.3 for Scott Clymer. Our final prelim, Mike Putnam versus Scott Clymer, ladies and gentlemen. Now on to the televised portion of our show. Of course, check us out on Spike. We start off in the lightweight division, 155 pounds. Zach Freeman versus Syed Awad, first to scale from St. Charles, Missouri. Please welcome Zach Freeman. Record of 9-2, 1 win by knockout. $155.3 for Zach Freeman. Your first fight against an up-and-comer with a lot of talent. You took care of him quickly. Now you're taking on a veteran. You get to show it wasn't a fluke. You have real skills. How excited are you for that tomorrow night?
First, I'm a fan of Saad, so it's an honor to fight him. I'm excited to put on a good show. He's exciting. I'm exciting. That's what these guys pay for, so that's what you deserve. So I look forward to giving them their money's worth.
Right here, man. And his opponent fighting out of San Bernardino, California, please welcome Syed Awad. A record of 20-9, 8 wins by knockout, 7 by submission. $155.6 for Syed Awad. You heard what Zach had to say. He's a fan. He respects you. He also promised an all-action fight. I know that's how you want to kick it off too, man.
Yeah, this is the first fight on the main card, and you know why it's the first fight on the main card? Because they need people to stay and watch the rest of the show. We're gonna steal the show tonight or tomorrow night. So make sure you tune in.
Don't tune in late. It's going to be a great one at 155. Zach Freeman versus Syed Awad. Our next fight in the middleweight division, 185 pounds. It's Chris Dempsey versus Ed Ruth, first to the scale. Fight out of Ambridge, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Chris Dempsey. A record of 11-5, 2 wins by knockout, 3 by submission. $184.8 for Chris Dempsey. Chris, you said, I know Ed Ruth's wrestling, but he hasn't been through the wars I've been through. He hasn't been through the rounds you've been through in MMA. How is that the difference tomorrow night?
He's going to try to use my experience to get the win for this fight and see how it comes out.
And his opponent out of Fresno, California, by way of Penn State, please welcome Ed Ruth. A record of 3-0. 185.9 for Ed Ruth. Ed coming back to Penn State, but this time it's just not just about wrestling. You get to punch somebody and fans are going to be screaming for you. How's that going to feel?
Oh, man, it's going to feel great. And it's also going to feel great to be in front of my hometown crowd.
My man, love it. The middleweights, Chris Dempsey versus Ed Ruth, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, the light heavyweights, 205 pounds. It's Leo Leite versus Phil Davis. First to scale from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Please welcome Leo Leite. Undefeated at 10-0. 3 wins by knockout, 3 by submission. .206 on the dot for Leo Leite. Leo taking on a big name in Phil Davis, a former champ in front of a very partisan crowd. But you've been happy this whole time. You've been excited when we talked to you about the fight. Why?
Phil Davis is a very tough guy, very tough fighter, but I'm prepared for this moment. I think he's my biggest challenge in my MMA career, but I'm ready for this moment.
And his opponent out of San Diego by way of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Phil Davis. The former Bellator light heavyweight champion, a record of 17-4, 3 wins by knockout, 5 by submission. .205.8 for Phil Davis. Same question in a different way. A lot of people will be nervous coming back to Penn State, everybody behind you, a lot of fans in the crowd, but you've been smiling happy this whole time to take this guy on. Why?
Man, this is hostile territory if you're not from here, My fans and my family, they're going to be cheering loud, so, I'm ready.
Coming back to Penn State, Phil Davis versus Leo Leite, ladies and gentlemen. And our next fight for the inaugural women's Bellator flyweight title, Emily Ducote versus Alimale McFarland. First to scale, fighting out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Please welcome Emily Ducote. .123.9 for Emily Ducote. When I asked you about your last fight with Alimale, you said, I didn't know if I was on the championship level at that time in my career. Now I know I am. How is that the difference tomorrow night?
I'm just realizing that I deserve to be here. This is also my division, and I'm excited.
And her opponent out of Honolulu, Hawaii, please welcome Alimale McFarland. Undefeated at 6-0, 1 win by knockout, 3 by submission. I don't want to get hooked. .124.5 for Alimale McFarland. There can be belts, there can be champions, there can only be one first champion. To be the first Bellator women's flyweight champion, what would that mean to you?
Oh, man, and I'm so grateful for everything Bellator's done for me. I feel like I'm one of their homegrown fighters, and to be able to represent them as the champion would be a dream come true.
Do not miss this fight. It is going to be amazing for the inaugural Women's Bellator Flyweight Championship. Emily Ducote versus Alimale McFarland. I don't want to cover you. I don't want to cover him. I'm nervous now. I don't know where that's been, but Hawaiians are so trustworthy. Really, it's amazing. And our main event of the evening for the light heavyweight Bellator World Championship, Linton Vassell versus the champion Ryan Bader versus scale out of Milton Keynes, England. Please welcome Linton Vassell. A record of 18-5, 6 wins by knockout, 8 by submission. .204.6 for Linton Vassell. Linton, it seems like everything for you was happening at the right time. You said the first time I had my title shot, I wasn't mentally ready for the 5 rounds to wear the belt. You feel you are now. How was that the difference against Ryan Bader?
Because back then, you say, I definitely wasn't ready. I was training in England, and I didn't have the training partners. Now, I'm training with the world's best. Some of them, Ryan's fought, you know, so obviously, you know, they've told me little things, but at the end of the day, the time for talking is over, and we're going to see who the real champ is.
And his opponent, fighting out of Gilbert, Arizona, the Bellator light heavyweight world champion. Please welcome Ryan Darth Bader. Record of 23-5, 8 wins by knockout, 4 by submission. 204.5 for Ryan Bader. Ryan, you told us your first fight in Bellator against Phil Davis, a lot of pressure coming into new organizations, Madison Square Garden. Now that you have the title, it's about having fun. How do you have that at the expense of Linton Vassell?
I've been here a million times. Last time, I didn't even know what the cage felt like. I got my feet wet here. I feel good. I fought the who's who of MMA. I've been here a million times. I feel good and leave with my belt, have a good fight. And, yeah, it's good to get on.
Our main event for the Bellator Light Heavyweight World Championship, the challenger, Linton Vassell, versus the champion, Ryan Bader. Two titles on the line tomorrow night. Penn State, you have been wonderful. We'll see you at the fights tomorrow night.
Jimmy Smith, thank you very much. Mr. Scott Coker, thank you. Fighters, thank you. Hey, for those that joined us here, we thank you. Tomorrow night, the doors open at 5:30. First 5,000 people inside the door get the Randy Couture bobblehead. And the legend himself will be here autographing it on the concourse. Again, first 5,000 people. Prelims start at 6:30, seen around the world live on the Bellator MMA mobile app. And with that, we will see you tomorrow night live and free on Spike, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, we thank you for joining us here on the campus of Penn State University, and we'll see you tomorrow night on Bellator MMA.